Welcome to the Marlene Saunders Show, where we have real talk, real conversations, and you're welcome to it. If it's your first time here, hit that like, subscribe, and share this out. And welcome to the Blah 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 podcast. Hey, chat fam, how are you all doing? Happy new week. Happy Monday to everybody. I hope everybody had a good weekend and you were able to relax, able to refresh yourself. And I'm going to the chat and I see Kyle here. How you doing, Kyle? Welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you being here. If you could please hit the like, I'd really appreciate it. So, today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about settling in relationships. I think that this is something that it does happen a lot. People settle in relationships when they really don't have to. But I wanted to talk about some of the reasons why I believe that. Why do they settle with them? Why do people settle in a relationship? And mainly, settling happens for a lot of various reasons, but I personally believe that settling has everything to do with ourself and believing that that's all I can get, that's all that I deserve, and listening to the talk of the people around us and feeling like this is all I can get. This is the only relationship I will ever get, especially if somebody has been through a lot of things and they've been through certain situations, so they're just waiting for an opportunity. And there are many people out here who use people in relationships. Not really that they're trying to be in a relationship with them, but they are an opportunist. And if someone presents the opportunity for them to be able to have everything that they want, whether it's whether it's taking money from them or using their body or controlling them and playing mind games. I'm talking about bad relationships, toxic relationships. But have you ever looked at somebody and you thought to yourself, look how much potential that they have? Like, they're a beautiful person on the outside, or they have a really good income, right? They have a good amount of money. They have, a career. They have a great personality. You think they're an awesome person. But then when they select a person to be in a relationship, it's not a good thing. Many people don't know how to choose a mate or a spouse. They just feel whoever is around, and it's based on attraction. And there's more to choosing somebody to be in a relationship more than attraction. I personally believe that the most important thing is having a focused spirituality. Like, you have to be connected on that level because that's what helps the relationship to continue and how you treat each other. But that's my personal opinion. Also, besides that, it's definitely when you choose somebody, it's what kind of personality do they have? Or is that somebody that you can deal with their personality? Are they an introvert or an extrovert? Do they like going out or do they like staying in? What type of thing do you actually want and need? And many people do not think about it. And I want for us to think more, chat family, when we're choosing our romantic partners. Choose, is this the person that I can see myself with? Is there growth that can happen within this relationship? Or am I just choosing this person because my family or my friends, or you feel that you're at a certain age and that I should be in a relationship? I've said it time and time again. Don't get into a relationship until you are okay with yourself. because until you know yourself and until you're in a position to be able to handle certain things, like you've worked on yourself, there will always be people who will play mind games with you. Until you know about manipulators, users, narcissists, until you can work on your own self, you yourself will be toxic. I can speak from that space because I know about it, because I used to be it. I know what it is like to play mind games with people, to like to argue, to be jealous, to be so many things that is not good for us. But until you learn how to work on yourself, you're going to select. You're going to select somebody who is just like how you feel about yourself. You're going to attract somebody that that's the level that you're on. And I didn't understand that, when I was in that cycle of choosing bad relationships. It's because I felt that's all I deserved, that's all I could get. And I went more by what the things that people said to me versus their actions. And when it's the opposite, you go by the actions of people, not the words, because it's easy to say something to somebody in a relationship and tell them a whole lot of foolishness. But how do they talk? How do they treat you? How do they treat themselves? How do they treat their family? Or if they have children, how do they treat their children? Are they reliable and responsible when it comes to money? Or is that a problem? Do they have things together? Do they have their credit together? How is their credit or their lack thereof? We have to ask ourselves those questions. But many times people will settle in a relationship because they have low self esteem. First, you have to know yourself and love yourself. You have to. You have to know who you are, and you have to love who you are. And a lot of people do not get that, and that's the reason why they're so miserable, is because they just feel I need to be in a relationship, and then they choose somebody. But until you can know yourself, until you get to love yourself, have care for yourself, take care of you, and are able to be your own friend, until you work on your own confidence, your own self esteem, you are never going to be somebody good to be in a relationship with. And I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people who are opportunists, and they're looking for their victims, they're looking for their prey that have low self esteem or have been in certain situations so that they can be able to control them and use them. And I believe definitely that's the reason why some people are so miserable in their relationship, because they did not take the time to get to know themselves and work on their own issues instead of saying, I want to be in a relationship. Hey, Pandy, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Thank you so much for listening in from work. How are you doing, Pandy? Happy Monday to you. I hope you're having a great work day so far. And there are a lot of people who they get in relationships, and they not only make themselves miserable, but they make the other person miserable. When I know for myself, I was in relationships in and out, and choosing some very toxic people, but it's because I was toxic. And I admit that because I've worked on myself. I've put in the work. I've gone through therapy. I've shed those tears. I learned how to be responsible and accountable and respectful of my own self. And until you learn how to respect yourself, know who you are and what you want, you're just going to choose somebody in a relationship for the wavelength, the vibration that you're on. You would never select somebody who is argumentative and rude and demanding and controlling when you don't want that from yourself. So that's one of the reasons I believe, one of the main reasons why people choose certain people in a relationship that are that way, controlling, because they're trying to catch up with their past. They're looking for to resolve the missing parts within themselves, whether they missed a mother or they missed a father or they had issues with their siblings. We usually select somebody to fill a void. And until you work on filling that void and work on yourself, and when you're in that space where you're happy and you don't need anybody to fulfill you because you're whole on your own, then you will start to choose a healthy relationship. And I had to take a break from relationships for a while after a really toxic one and work on me and get to know me and what I want and what I need and what I desire. And many people aren't willing to put in that work. All they want to do is blame other people. See, what I had to learn for myself is I can't expect something from a person in a relationship that I don't possess myself. I'm asking for them to be a loving person, a kind person, a communicator, have their money together, be healthy. I'm expecting all of these things from somebody in a relationship, but I didn't possess it myself. And that was something that I had to say, like, what's going on here? We tend to want something from others, but do we possess it? And I had to meditate on that for a long time. I had to have my alone time. I had to work on friendship with myself. I had to work on my spirit. I had to work on my mindset and shift and heal my inner child. I had to go back to the little girl inside of me when certain things happened in my past to me, whether it was in my childhood and up to my early adulthood. And until you resolve and heal those wounds, you're going to settle in who you select. Going to be miserable in a relationship because that's not the person that you are supposed to be with. And a lot of people settle because they think this is all I can get based on how they feel about themselves. And until you get on that wavelength of learning to love, I love myself. So I don't need someone to tell me what to do. I don't need somebody who is just looking for a housekeeper or a slave. You can select somebody who actually care about you and tell you to have a seat and say, put your feet up. Let me get you something to do, to drink or eat, or will be willing to work on household tasks. See, I learned when I was healthy, I was also looking for someone who was healthy too. Somebody who cared about their own health. And because they cared about themselves, they knew how to give to another. And until I learned to stop being selfish and only thinking about me, I could never find somebody who was also on the same wavelength. And I say, it takes one to know one. And I'm a mature enough as a woman to be able to own that. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I made a lot of poor choices, and it's because I didn't want to be woman enough to say someone hurt me or multiple people hurt me. And it's not about who hurt you romantically, but it goes back to your issues from your childhood. How did your mother treat you? Your father? How did your siblings treat you? How do you feel about yourself? And I know that it sounds like something, oh no, that doesn't apply to me, but it does. How you were treated as a child, how you were treated in your past relationships is going to be who you select to be in a relationship with. And until you heal those issues and learn to resolve it, you're going to stay traumatized, and you're going to select somebody to be in a relationship for trauma bonding, or somebody who will fill in those that hurt that who you were with previously did to you. So say for instance you had somebody who did whatever to you and they never listened to you. That's going to be one of the most important things that you're going to select in the next person, or maybe they'll fake it. Maybe you'll tell them everything. I need to be in a relationship with somebody who communicates. So they'll paint this whole story. I'm such a good communicator when all it was is a bait and trap. We have to be very careful of what we tell people when we are seeking a spouse or when we're seeking someone to be in a committed relationship. Because if you put out there exactly your pain and your hurt, they know what to use as leverage over you. They know what to, you know, how to portray themselves. And some people, because of their evil motives and how dark they are, they will make themselves to be into this angel of light when actually they're an angel of darkness. They're wicked and evil. They have some very demonic spirits, and that's just what it is. Yes, Pandy, so true. I made terrible mistakes in my first marriage. It was very toxic. I began to flourish once I got out of it. Yeah, I'm so sorry that that happened to you, Pandy. And I know that many of us experience so much hurt and pain from a relationship. But I can't say for you, Pandy, but I can say for myself. In my previous relationship, I had no business being in a relationship. I had no business. In my whole 20s, I should have never been in a relationship because I had so much unresolved issues. I had so much traumas, so much pain, and for me, until I learned to work on the reason behind my eating disorder, behind my suicide attempts, behind my body image issues, behind so many other things, my confidence and my ability to believe in my dreams and my hopes, until I fixed all of those gaps and spaces within myself, I was always going to select somebody who is trying to assist me to be that, when it's not anybody else's job to complete me. Until I learned how to fix me, I couldn't select a good person because it's nobody else's responsibility to love us. It's nobody else's responsibility to friend us. We have to first friend ourselves. And it's this popular thing now going around, solo dating, and I get it and everything, but you have to learn to spend time with yourself, by yourself, and your self-care for your overall wellness and your overall well-being, to find out who you are, you know? And when you find out who you are, then you can find a person, because until your mind is healthy, until you've healed from your trauma and your pain, you're just going to select somebody just like the person that you left. Not even because you're trying, but because if you don't give yourself the ability to resolve and to heal and to ask yourself, why did I select this person? Why did I select that person? That's a thing that my therapist helped me with, and it's something that we don't want to admit. We don't want to admit that we chose a bad person, that we were gullible, and we let somebody play mind games with us. And for me, it was because I didn't love myself. I was selecting a bad person because I didn't love myself. I honestly didn't. And you can say with your mouth that you love yourself. I said all the time for many years that I love myself, but look at the decisions that I was making and who I was selecting. I wasn't making good decisions. See, when you love yourself, you don't love your partner, or you don't love the person that you're with more than yourself. So I was making so many sacrifices for my family, for you make sacrifices for your children, for your job, but I wouldn't make those same sacrifices for myself. So until I learned how to love myself, I went into an intensive deep dive inside of myself, into my mind, into my thinking, why I think the way that I think, and it uncovered, it peeled down like layers of an onion, so many reasons why I was a procrastinator, why I had issues with food. And it was underlying from so many issues from my childhood and from previous relationships. And until I healed that, I couldn't be healthy mentally, physically, financially, and physically. Once I healed those wounds, now I was in a position to be able to think in a reasonable manner, in a healthy manner. And I was so much better than I was before. Oh, wow. You were way too young. Yeah. And I think a lot of us were when we selected people. See, I was the type of person that I was trying to run from my childhood situation. So it's like I was trying to get away from the past. I was running from the skeletons in my past. So I was trying to leave home, and I was selecting somebody just because I just didn't want to be home. It's like I was running from the hot pot until into the fire. So it was like I was not only was it better if I had stayed home and grown up and saved some money and matured and work on myself, but instead, you know how it goes. You say you're grown and you want your own place. You don't want your parents telling you what to do. I get all those things, but with that also comes um, with your actions comes reactions. So for me, that was the reaction to it, because I thought I was so grown and I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature. I definitely didn't have my finances together. I didn't even know what finances meant in my 20s and my early 30s. I had no idea who I was, where I was going. I was just trying to survive and cover up my issues. So that's just what it was. And until I learned to love myself, I was always going to settle for not only in a romantic relationship, but also in friendships. And with what I selected as a career, monetarily, what I was going to do for work. Until I learned to love myself, I had to learn to stop settling for these little hit and miss jobs where I had to learn to love myself before I could say, you can get your education, you can start a business, you can do better. You don't have to live on low income just because maybe that's what you were used to. And I say that when I speak to those that I mentor and those who I counsel, just because you have been in an environment of toxicity doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can choose to elevate and be better. And it's not because you think that you're better, like people love to say, you think you're better, when actually I am. I like to tell those that I mentor and anybody who is in the sound of my voice, I encourage others to feel that about yourself. When people say you think you're better, actually you are. You're better in your mentality, you're better in your health, you're better in your finances. And there are certain people that you have to leave behind. And you have to also forgive the pain and the hurt that other people do to you so that you can make better decisions in your present. And until I resolve like the things that were said about me, like you being ugly, you being this, you can never have anything, and you're stupid, and you're a woman and women don't know anything. Um, for like we will say to ourselves, oh, that doesn't bother me, but it does ultimately, because the people that we care about, the things that they say to us, it hurts us and it can paralyze us and keep us stuck. And also it can get us stuck into staying in relationships that are not healthy and good for us, choosing a very controlling relationship, choosing people that we never should be in a relationship with. And during that time, when I started to get to know me and love me, that's when I had enough courage to walk away from a toxic relationship. Because once you know yourself and love yourself, everything will shift in your life. Your finances will shift, your spirituality will shift, your financial situation, your health will shift. It's because when you become healthy in your mind, in your mindset, everything else will follow. You're not going to allow people to talk to you any type of way. You're going to believe in yourself. You're going to be confident. You're going to take care of yourself, and you're going to become accountable. And I think that's where my elevation began, when I became accountable that it was up to me to be happy. And it wasn't up to who I was in a relationship with, because we can be in relationships with people and they're miserable. And I just got tired of that, because at the time that I got in the relationship with them, I was miserable. And so were they. But once I healed my inner child and was introduced to confidence and self-love, I couldn't tolerate their negativity. I couldn't tolerate their laziness and their lack of direction and focus. So I had to walk away. And for me, once I became healthy mentally, everything else in my life followed. I can't speak for any of you chat family, but for me, that's what how it began with me. I can't stay around those who are negative, lazy, jealous, procrastinators, the ones that make excuses and blame everybody else. Once I became accountable for me and say, yeah, you do that, and why is it that you do that? But for me, I had to find out the reason why I couldn't start things and finish it. Why did I feel insufficient? Why do I feel that I had to be controlled? Why did I feel that I wasn't beautiful or smart enough? Why did I feel that I couldn't have a business? Why did I feel that I couldn't be focused? Those are all the issues that I had to resolve inside of myself. And there's nobody that can fill in those empty spaces and that pain and that hurt, but myself. I had to take some time by myself and get to know me. Get to know me as a grown and mature woman. Yes, at one time you can say that you're grown, but have you grown in your mindset? Have you grown in your focus? Or have you been doing what you've always done? See, that was my aha moment. That's when I feel like I stepped into maturity, when I allowed myself to say, you know what? This is what you do. Own it. You're lazy. Okay. You're not finishing things, or you always make excuses, or you're blaming people. Once I owned that, and then I got into the reasons why, and my therapist helped me when she said, you have to get underneath that pain. You have to get underneath that laziness. You have to get underneath that procrastination and ask yourself, why do I become lazy? Why do I procrastinate? And that's when all my relationships shifted at that point, because once I found out the reason why I procrastinated is because when I was younger, and there were people who, when I would show them something that I had done, I didn't get the accolades. I didn't get the celebration. They were just like, like, oh yeah, that was okay. And because of that, when I would try to do something, I would start it, but I wouldn't finish it, because I felt like what I was doing was just average. It wasn't good enough. But I had to shift that and, turn things around inside of myself, and to say that was the past. But today, when I do something, I'm proud of myself. I had to learn to start shifting my mindset and my talk within myself. When I do something, I remind myself, I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. You're a phenomenal woman. You're a good friend. You're a good person in a relationship. We have to learn to celebrate ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. To all you chat family, don't wait for your spouse or significant other, your friends, your siblings, whoever, to celebrate you. Once you learn to celebrate yourself, you're not waiting for a person in a relationship to celebrate you. And that's wonderful if they do, but I don't have to wait for you to celebrate me. I'm going to celebrate myself all day long, and I'm going to be proud of myself, but also I'm going to be accountable, you know? And I learned to be reasonable with my expectations of myself. I stopped setting the bar so high that I could never reach out and grab it. And I think that that's the difference. you know? That was the difference for me. I had to learn to stop setting the bar so high that there's no way that I could reach it or anybody could reach it. I had to, let myself be where I was at that moment and own that, that you need to work on yourself. You need to stop expecting from others what you don't possess. Like, okay, you don't want them to be lazy, but aren't you lazy? And that was a hard pill to swallow. It really was. It was a hard pill to swallow to say that I was lazy, that I was a procrastinator, that I was this, and that I was all of these things. And one by one, I worked on myself. I shed some tears because I had to go back to that little girl inside of me where I was abandoned, when I was, shunned, or I was silenced when that was the time I should have been celebrated and told, you did a good job. I'm proud of you. You're doing great. But these days, I know how to celebrate myself. I know how to, because I know how to celebrate myself, I also know how to celebrate other women and other men. I know how to be happy for others. And within that, that was another one of my issues when it came to my issues with food, because I was eating away my pain. And we do that sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. We'll eat because we're lazy. We'll eat because we're stressed out. We'll eat because of whatever sadness or pain or hurt. And I had to learn to stop doing that. When I feel like eating these days, I'll say to myself, are you really hungry? Why are you eating? And put myself on a schedule. Having a food diary was monumental in my health, but that's a conversation for another day. Pandy says, in the back of my mind, I knew I was not ready. Worst mistake of my life. And you know what, Pandy? It takes a lot of courage for you to say that out loud. And me too. When I was in that relationship, I remember the day before, I was going to commit to that person. I, in back of my mind was saying, run, 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 run. Do not commit to this person. And I silenced that. When you get those red flags, like everything that would happen when they were, controlling, or the things that they said, or I knew that certain things were irritating, but I ignored it. I ignored what they were saying. Hey Chris, how are you doing? Welcome. Happy Monday. I ignored it. I ignored what was said to me. I ignored what other people said. And I think ultimately it's because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, because I said, I'm grown. I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I wanted to be right. And many times, because we want to be right in who we're selecting, even though we've seen all the red flags, we feel it on the inside and it doesn't feel right, but we want to do what we want to do anyways. And then ultimately, we are faced with it that they are exactly what other people have told us, and exactly that feeling that we have on the inside, like this is the worst decision you can ever make. Do not be in this relationship. Do not marry this person. Do not. But we do it anyways because we feel that we have to, because you're running from something. And I believe that many of us, we just don't want to admit it, but we're running from something. So either you're running from your mommy or daddy issues, you're trying to prove that you're right, and you're wrong. You're wrong. Inside, your gut feeling is telling you run away and don't look back. But you have to have enough courage, and you have to be comfortable enough in your skin to say, it's not an inner thing. And I took everything personal. I felt like if I walk away from this person, that I would be rejecting myself. Like I'm not a good person because the relationship didn't work out. I had to learn to stop self projecting, that the issues that they had and the things that they did had everything to do with me. And as a grown woman today, I can take ownership of that, because it's not my responsibility that they don't do what they need to do, that they're lazy or they're jealous or they have certain issues. You have to let other people handle their own business and their own problems. It has nothing to do with you. But at the same time, we have to take ownership of the things that we do. Like, am I toxic? Am I a good communicator? Do I listen to those red flags? Do I speak up when I need to? Do I set boundaries? And do I mean it when I say no? Do I stick to it? Or do I turn my nose into yeses after I get prodded? That's what I had to learn about myself too. Yes, happy Monday to you as well, Chris. So it's one of those things that we definitely have to learn how to love ourselves. And many of the times, people who settle in a relationship, they do so because they're just lonely. And, I can say, because I have been there many a time, in between relationships, it's just like it gets to the point where it's just so, like, you just get so tired of the weight of everything, the weight of bills, the weight of the loneliness, the weight of, the expectations of other people. You want your family to look at you and say, you're in a healthy relationship. So it's all of those projections from the other people that we have to learn to quiet that noise. And we have to listen to the noise from the inside of us. Is this a good person? Are they a good person? Or are they a good match for me? How are they going to help me? What is their situation financially? Are they mature enough? Are they a good communicator? What are their finances? What is their health? See, many times we'll jump from that pot to the fire. You say you want to get out of this situation, or you say, I'm going to leave this relationship and then jump to this one, but you're selecting somebody who is not only bad, they're worse than the previous person, because until you heal your previous issues, you're just leaving one pain for another. And I did, oh, when my therapist told me that, I got so angry. You're leaving one pain for another. So until you resolve your issues of, why did I select that person? Why do I believe that that's what I deserve? Why do I like this sort of person to begin with? I didn't want to take ownership of that. Nobody actually wants to say, I didn't select the right person, or I was immature. We always want to project on, from whatever our issues, we want to project our issues onto another person, instead of taking ownership and being mature enough to say, I do this, this, and this. You know, very true, but not worth it. I agree, Pandy. It's definitely not worth it. And being lonely, it's hard, but I learned to turn that around. We are what we think. And if we keep telling ourselves we're lonely, we're going to make ourselves miserable. I learned to stop saying that I was miserable. I learned to work on my self-talk and say, I'm not lonely. This is my time to heal myself. This is my season to improve myself and be mature and accountable and responsible, and learning who I am and what I want, and learning my place that God has for me, and not what other people want for me. Because for many years I was making everybody happy but myself. I was, being that person. Many of us, I can't speak for all ladies, but many ladies, we think because we're good at keeping a home, when we're good in bed, when we're good with taking care of children, and we're good, just people in general, that we're good in a relationship, when it's so much more than that. Who am I? What do I bring to the table? And not just expecting what do we want from them, but what value do I bring in a relationship? And I resolved inside of myself that I was never going to choose another relationship until I knew that I brought value to a relationship. I know that I bring value. I'm positive of it now, because I did the work to work on myself. I healed myself from the inside. So I was no longer lonely. I was happy. I was mature. I was responsible. I was relatable. I was healthy. I was not toxic. I was not controlling or jealous, manipulative, because I learned to love myself. And I think that everybody has to get to that space on their own. And until you learn how to get to that space where you're healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, until you work on your unresolved issues, you're going to settle not only in romantic relationships, but every relationship that you have, every single one. Yes, Pandy. So thank you all so much for tuning into today's podcast. I really do appreciate every single one of you. If you have not hit the like on the way in, please hit the like on the way out. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We do podcasts Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I thank you so much for tuning in. And to my replay chat family, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Do you know someone who has settled? Have you settled in relationships? Let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you all tomorrow on the next Marlene Saunders show. Bye bye, everybody.